thank you so much. He said you're the 1,000 subs. That's beautiful.
The city matches the scale of the rest of the world in the way it operates, as well as
like this looks like good ambiance. I'm not gonna lie. I need to be able to like walk on these balance beams with like my hand in like the T-pose and like trying to like get my balance, bro. Have you ever played a game and you just came across it and felt weird about it, or that something is missing, or that too much is there? Well, this could be the reason why. This is video game cities are weird. This is right, Raz Button. Welcome back to Stanley Offline. Happy to have you, happy to have you. I think by the time this video goes up, we will hit 1,000 subscribers on this channel. So thank you so much for that 1,000 subscribers. Let's get into it. Let's go.
When I first played The Witcher 3, I thought I had the full measure of what it was capable of after a dozen or so.
Bro, I keep hearing about this game. Bar for none. Whenever I start gaming again, I have to play this game. I hear so much about this game, bro.
Hours of playtime. But then I reached Novigrad and it kind of blew my mind. I had played plenty of massive open world games by that point in my life, but while some had incredible and expansive wilds to journey across and others had dense and detailed cities to explore, I never played one that did both convincingly. In the ones that tried to, the cities never felt realistic. For instance, take Skyrim. While each of the cities are intriguing and impressive in terms of theming and visual design, they don't really feel like proper cities. They are far too small and singular in focus, and their populations are minuscule, with each city having the amount of people you'd historically expect to find in a small village and not a place with a fortified keep. I don't know, like when Nazim asks if you've been to the Cloud District lately, it's a bit baffling because how could you not, as there is barely any separation between it and the rest of Whiterun.
I see.
Now, the choice to have smaller cities makes sense given the general design goals of Skyrim. They want you to feel like you can interact with anyone and anything, and creating bigger cities where most of the inhabitants and buildings largely act as set dressing with—
This is good lore though. Every single time I enter a city with games and stuff like that, the only thing that I wish is that it was full of more people there just like me. That's always been the feeling. And like, that's why I love MMOs so much. But one of the things that MMOs, I know this is just, I think we're far away from this, or not far away, but I just don't think that it's really worth putting in. But I would enjoy more if everybody could operate on one server than having a multitude of servers. Because to me, seeing a packed up place with packed up people, and I know we're not talking about MMOs, is always the thing that saves the city for me. I love that feeling.
Take away that aspect of the game. Also, trying to scale the cities to something that more closely resembled reality.
Hey, Big Cheese, thank you so much. He said you're the 1,000 subs. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being the 1,000s. That's crazy.
Probably would have broken Skyrim's engine irrevocably. Regardless of it being the right choice for the game, it does still have the effect of making the world feel smaller in a way. It makes it all the more obvious that it is just a representation of a city and not an actual one. Novigrad, however, really feels like a city. There are people everywhere you look, all going about their business. And more often than not, it isn't them just doing one task in one place for all time. They move around. They seemingly have schedules and jobs and important places to be. Along with that, there are more buildings than you can reasonably keep track of, the majority of which tower over you, making it feel like the city is a world of its own. It can't be understood in just one glance and is as easy to get lost within as the vast marshes and mountains of the world outside of the walls. Novigrad feels alive. There is an energy to it that's undeniable and makes the game far richer because of it. The city matches the scale of the rest of the world in the way it operates, as well as
like this looks like good ambiance, I'm not gonna lie.
The fact that it exists within a larger context provides a sort of realism to it. There's a sense that it could be a real city in a real world. Now, of course, in reality, it couldn't and it isn't meant to be. Major cities are made to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people, and they require countless considerations in order to build something that supports those who reside within it simultaneously. In games, however, the design goal generally is to support just one person, the player. The infrastructure of a video game city
Is that why it feels like that?
Need to provide anything for anyone living in it because their needs don't exist. It doesn't matter that new ships will never come into Novigrad's harbor, or that these carts in Assassin's Creed 2 are always stationary, or that the power lines in Liberty City don't really make any sense. Although it does make for a fire Enyasna video. Actually, in that video, he makes a point about how video games are top-down representations of real spaces. The aim of developers is to capture a vibe, not create a functional space. So they aren't focused on creating practical cities. They're focused
but if they did, it would make the city feel more alive. Okay, I'm
creating something that feels close enough. We use the word simulation a lot when talking about video games, but with the exception of stuff like city skylines, the vast majority of video game cities aren't truly simulations. They're simulacrums. A word I only know.
I I was about to say, that is new dictionary terms for me.
From Dungeons & Dragons, and therefore am almost certainly missing its full philosophical content.
Simulacrum, 7th level illusion. Components, no, I don't need that. You shape an illusionary duplicate of one of, you shape an illusory? Is that how you say that? You shape an illusory duplicate of one beast or humanoid that is within range for the entire casting time of the spell. The duplicate is a creature particularly real or partially real and formed from ice or snow, and it can take actions and otherwise affected as a normal creature. I don't think this actually applies to what we're saying here.
Next, they're imitations that don't have the components to truly
so it's a genjutsu, no cap.
Operate, but when viewed from a certain perspective, they are able to convincingly fake it. Novigrad is not a functioning city. However, it has all the trappings of one that is, making it extremely easy to suspend disbelief and feel that sense of immersion we so often hope to find in games. This illusion only takes a tiny amount of investigation to shatter, though. If you spend time following different people in the city, you'll find that each is not an individual. They are an archetype. One who is assigned a zone to operate within and then move around interacting with environmental prompts that align with whatever their assigned tasks are. She'll clean clothes in any wash tub she comes across, he'll pick up boxes to take from one spot to another, he'll count the inventory of every pile of stuff he sees, but there is no rhyme or reason for any of it. Doing these things doesn't give them new clothes to wear or earn them money to help support their lifestyle or change the resources the city has. Because why would it? Who cares?
And you know, and he's right. Like him going and thinking this far into the game, he's too deep in. He's too deep in. But it would be really cool to notice that, like, oh, da-da-da got some new clothes like from the last time that I was in the village. Or imagine you leave the village for like a prolonged time, and not because it was like a prompt for it to be like, when you leave the village, this person is going to be 8. When you come back, they're going to be 12. But like, let's say you came back on year 2 and you literally saw 2 years of progression on that person, like in game time. You get what I'm saying? Then you come back at 5 and it's 5, and like it would be cool. It's like that would be really dope.
Cares about a nameless NPC's ability to meaningfully change their life. What does matter is that at a glance, it seems as if whatever they're doing could.
Appreciate
and
that,
in all likelihood, you'll only ever give them a glance. In the game, you're a witcher and have better things to do than watch this guy saw this piece of wood without ever making progress. You've got a daughter to find and monsters to slay. So while you may take a moment to appreciate the moving pieces of the city, the game is designed in a way where you're most likely just going to run by these people, because what you have going on is more important and interesting than any single person's mundane life here. The game doesn't need to do anything more, because all that matters is that it adds to the player's sense that this could be a real place, giving more weight to the aspects of the gameplay and story that actually do matter to them. When Ciri feels like a missing part of a place with a sense of life to it, it makes finding her feel even more important. Designing a city in a way that enhances the player's experience obviously goes beyond how it operates or seems to operate. It also can be seen in its layout.
See, here's my problem. Like, whenever we make it to like the SAO portion of like the player's
experience,
I need to be able to like walk on these balance beams with like my hand in like the T pose and like trying to like get my balance, bro. That just adds to the immersion of the game for me, bro. I need to be able to do it inside of nerd gear.
Operates or seems to operate. It also can be seen in its layout.
Historically,
major cities in the real world sprung up near various water sources that best allowed for agriculture and trade, and then had to take the natural environment into account when developing their infrastructure. In games, though, devs aren't having to figure out how to build around the natural landscape. They're making the landscape. Every aspect can be developed together to match the architect's vision and not have to compromise to account for reality. The existence of a river might be used in the lore to justify why a city is there, but the actual reason is to give the player something to interact with. So whether it be Novigrad's rivers, terrain, or placement of buildings, they all exist for the player and have the dual purpose of seeming like a plausible feature while also being engaging to play around. Now, this can all be a hard line to walk, especially when certain goals may be at odds with one another. For instance, it seems pretty clear that CD Projekt Red wanted Novigrad to feel like a maze of a city that anyone could get lost in. But at the same time, as the game puts a lot of—
I hope he discusses Batman NPCs, because they be having some insane conversations. What happens if Batman NPCs? I'm not gonna lie, they live in an insane place. Like, they literally live in one of the worst places ever. So I hope they are having insane conversations, bro. Their life sucks.
The emphasis on exploration, they almost certainly wanted it to feel navigable as to not create constant friction for players whenever they tried to go from one spot of the city to another. Depending on the quests,
I like Pokemon NPCs. I'm not gonna lie. Like, Pokemon NPCs make me happy.
Pursues and
they could definitely explore a lot more with Pokemon NPCs.
Choices they make, they can spend an inordinate amount of time in just the city alone. So making sure that moving through it didn't feel worse than moving through any other area of the game mattered a fair bit. To their credit, as
what game has has good NPCs to y'all.
Confusing as Novigrad may seem at first, it is one of the few areas in The Witcher 3 where I feel like not using a minimap is extremely viable, and this is done through the inclusion of clever landmarks and terrain that help guide players. For instance, a few branches of the Pontar River cut through Novigrad in different ways, creating distinct sections of the city. To the south are the docks and various gang-controlled neighborhoods. In the center is the Market District, which is also alongside some gang-controlled neighborhoods, and to the north is Temple Isle, which is controlled by the worst gang of them all, the Church of Eternal Fire. There's a lot of space to get lost within, but the various water features around Novigrad tend to make it easy to get your bearings. Finding the lower river gives you a straight shot to the docks and out of the city. It is also right by Hierarch Square, which is where many shops and quests are based out of. Following the coast gives an easy path through the docks and also to St. Gregory's Bridge, which can take you to Temple Isle, and even when further away from the
This looks great though.
The sails of the ships docked in the harbor can be spotted from many different places across the city, giving players an easy way to orient themselves when feeling a bit lost. As for how it uses the terrain,
bro, I'm telling you, bro, one of the best ways that AI could like actually be used outside of just like making everybody's lives like, you know what I'm saying, more intricate, is like, I really think there's like a boundless system with AI in gaming, not in the sense of like replacing the developer, but allowing the developer to do so much more. In the sense of like, you got to understand, like, properly used, this is my, like, if AI was to infiltrate gaming, this would be my scenario. If AI was probably able to be used, I would be able to interact with this character in a one-to-one session that only I have inside of my game. Sure, another player in another game could also interact with the same NPC, but maybe based on their choices or based on however the prompt's feeling or whatever the case, or actions or movements or whatever, my interaction is solely, like, different. Like, I'm telling you, and then if they could code it in a way that's like you receive something from this interaction that doesn't break the game, that makes it even more crazy. Like, for example, like, if you like run into this kid and instead of running by him, you knock him over. You get what I'm saying? And then he twists his ankle. So now you have to bring him home. You bring him home, you found out his family got slaughtered. Like, you get what I'm saying? Find out his family got slaughtered. So now it's your mission to defeat what slaughtered his family, but because it's like AI's like trying to generate the best story for you. So it's like now he wants to tag along with you and like slay the thing with you or whatever the case may be, and boom, boom, boom. And it's like, that's just a whole separate side story, and it's completely AI generated. That's the best way I think that it can infiltrate gaming. But imagine that for that character and this character and that character, like, it would be, I think that's just the coolest way. And I don't think we get there with like developers, not because it's impossible, but that's just a jarring amount of tasks. But yeah, that's my dream if AI was to ever infiltrate gaming.
As for how it uses the terrain, there are exceptions to this, but generally when going north, the elevation increases, and when going south, it decreases.
That's dope.
I imagine this choice stems from how we tend to associate north with up and south with down, so having that reflected in the topography feels pretty natural. Or maybe I've just spent too much time thinking about this. They also tie different social classes to the various elevations, with the upper class being at the top of the hill and the lower class being at the bottom. This has a fair bit of historical basis, as nobles and royalty were often settled at the top of hills as they offered more protection from potential attacks, but here it mostly serves to further create a distinction between the various spots in the city. Quest design even plays a role in making the city more manageable.
Quest design, that's what it is. That's the word I'm looking for. AI. If AI, MMOs, and quest design can find a happy medium, oh my gosh, I think that would single-handedly be the resurgence of MMOs across the world. Like, I think like it would end up like in the most expansive place. What's the last time like the world has had like an MMO that's like shook up the entire like nation? It would be Genshin Impact, right? But I don't feel like MMOs have ever shook it up like as like us, the community. Oh no. The last time an MMO shook up the world was that one game. That's what I'll say. The one with like the astronauts, that like, not the astronauts, but y'all would have to save a planet. If you guys don't save the planet, you guys lose it. And it was like the whole world and servers, and you just had to fight aliens and stuff like that. What was that called? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Oh man, I wish I remembered. But that to me felt like the last time that an MMO properly shook up the planet. And I guess Arc Raiders, but it's just not enough community of a sense, bruh.
To navigate by having the starting locations for main
Shangri-La
quests and
Frontier?
major side quests all be pretty easy to keep track of. You can pretty much draw a straight line from the Rosemary Thyme to Hierarch Square to Sigamond's Bathhouse to the
like imagine Helldivers. That's Helldivers, yes. Bro, like imagine like an MMO and you're just like in a field, right? And I know we're not talking about MMO, but whenever I look at these games, it made me think about MMOs. Imagine an MMO and you're just in a field, right? And it's like you're just doing your typical, like, you're trying to level up. You get what I'm saying? and it's just like you're surrounded by like a couple other people in the server who's trying to level up as well, and then just an event happens that surrounds you and those 10 people that are there, and it's particularly curated for you based on like some type of AI generation tool, whatever the case may be, quest generated right there. It would just add so much to like gaming, I think, where it's just like not every game is a one-to-one experience, and you can have things that are like story, like you could come back and you could tell fables about the game that you was like. I think it'll be so dope. Nonetheless, please don't cancel me. This is not me advocating for AI. It's not whatever, please, bro. I'm just imagining. I'm just somebody with a brain, bro. Please.
And these are all places that are extremely significant to the story being told. While there are tons of streets that weave through the city, many end up funneling players down this line through the center of Novigrad. So if you can just have an understanding of that line, you'll typically be able to figure out where to go without needing to overly rely on your minimap. Of course, some players still will just focus on their minimap, but those who don't or even have it turned off completely won't.
I gotta see that, Laura. I never knew that.
Now, the inclusion of these aspects don't mean that players will never get lost or struggle to find a location, but the general layout and the natural guides the city provides likely will lessen how often it happens. These aspects aren't necessarily things you will actively think of when traversing the city, but they can be felt, and this sort of subtle approach can have a huge impact on how comfortable a player feels within a space. Novigrad's clever design leads to a city that not only feels lived in, but feels lived in by you. And by the end of your quest to find Ciri within it, it goes from a city you thought you'd never understand to one you largely do. I think it's worth mentioning that despite being an entirely fictional city, Novigrad does take cues from real medieval ones, and its similarity to them kind of provides a level of legitimacy. And some titles take this even a step further by being set in real-world locations. In Assassin's Creed 2, for instance, Ubisoft constructed mildly faithful recreations of famous cities like Florence and Venice. The layout of the land is mostly the same, and they contain many real-world buildings that the game regularly points out to the player and provides information on. And this gives a sort of validity to the city as a whole, almost like if these buildings are right, then the others must be as well. And of course, that's not really the case. The buildings that fill in the rest of the city are plausible, but not accurate. Doing a perfect one-to-one recreation of what a city looked like over 500 years ago would be impossible, and more importantly, it wouldn't support the main goal of the game, which is to make Ezio's climbing and free running feel as fun and interesting as they can. Everything is scaled so the player always has an opportunity to make a daring escape or an undetected approach. Buildings tend to be perfect jumping distances from each other, windows and other ornamentations are spaced at just the right distance to almost never halt Ezio in his tracks, and of course, hay bales are never far from the highest lookouts in the city. It shows off just enough from reality to make the city believable, but then every aspect of how it operates, from the people walking around who you can blend in with to scaffolding that helps you get from the street level to the rooftops, is in service of the gameplay. Another more modern example of this can be seen in Grand Theft Auto 5 with Los Santos. Now, while it is inspired by Los Angeles, Los Santos is clearly a fictional place. It has plenty of notable LA landmarks that even people who have never been there would recognize, but it isn't worried about presenting them faithfully, giving Rockstar more freedom with how they structure every bit of the city. In fact, they also do a lot to change up the...
I wonder if anybody ever saw their like apartment in Los Santos.
Right, and it actually uses the same elevation trick as Novigrad, where at least in the city proper, going uphill tends to take you north and to richer areas, where going downhill brings you south into lower income parts of the city. A technique Rockstar seems to be somewhat fond of, as it can also be seen with Saint Denis in Red Dead Redemption 2. Regardless, the inclusion of aspects that many people see every day, whether it be in person or in film or television, provides a familiarity to the city that makes it more believable, but then everything else is meant to improve the gameplay. What I find most interesting about Los Santos, though, and this can really be said for every city in the Grand Theft Auto series, is that certain aspects that are brought in from real life serve their opposite function within the game. For example, traffic cones and delineators and stop signs aren't placed around the world to give you something to look out for and avoid. They are there for you to run into. Honestly, this is even why pedestrians are around. Grand Theft Auto is a series about ignoring inhibition, of leaning into chaos and giving in to the intrusive thoughts that cross your mind. The things that are there in real life to get us to pay attention.
Crazy, by the way. I don't know if we're supposed to have access to that.
Down and be safe are meant not just to be ignored in Grand Theft Auto, but to be transgressed. It is a city that looks the same as ones in the real world, but the way players are supposed to engage with it is fundamentally in opposition with how they would in real life. Honestly, I think this is part of why with GTA and other games that take a similar approach to it, people get annoyed that they can't enter every building they come across. While this obviously isn't something most of us would do in the real world, theoretically, you have the ability to break into almost anywhere. So the fact that in a game that is all about theft and destruction of property, most buildings don't have insides you can break into, the absence...
That's why they're making sure that that is not the case in the next GTA.
Noticed. Of course, having interiors for every single building would be a ridiculous use of resources, and the better benefits of it would not outweigh the toll it would have on the studio and the game as a whole. But pragmatism aside, not being able to rob any house does still have a slight negative impact on the experience the game is trying to cultivate. All things considered though, these hiccups that get in the way of crime sprees are pretty few and far between. The city and how it operates is designed to help allow the player to cause as much chaos as they want without many obstacles. Like, roads are bigger relative to cars than they are in the real world, making it easy to swerve between them. Also, despite Los Santos being based on LA, you will never find yourself in a traffic jam. Curbs are low and easy to drive over, exits on the highway are frequent, and places—
No, I'm not gonna lie, they have to add traffic to GTA. They have to add traffic to GTA, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Just because I think that content would be amazing, bro.
Just to hide out from the—
I think that would actually be hilarious.
Cops you're in a chase where no one will rat you out are abundant. Like, even Los Santos's demographics play into this. There isn't a single kid in the city. If Rockstar had included them, in order for the game to get a rating, they would have had to go with the Skyrim or Red Dead Redemption 2 route of making them invincible, which would have impeded on the player's ability to be as destructive as they want. So to not get in the way of that, they're just not there at all. The Grand Theft Auto series is meant to feel like a chaotic playground, and while on the surface it resembles a real city, the shifts it makes to real things are just enough to allow you to engage with it in a way most people would never and should never in their own life. In contrast to this, in Rockstar's follow-up to GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, the design goal seems much more about including things that will enhance the story of Arthur Morgan instead of the gameplay capabilities of the player. It is still a bit of a chaos playground, but by and large, the game wants players to explore Arthur's life and not just use him as an avatar for destruction. While there are choices that do influence who—
like, genuinely, Red Dead is like the demure version of GTA. It's like, hey, like, let's calm that down. Like, this isn't Carnival Cruise. We have standards here.
Arthur becomes, there is a distinct story the game is aiming to tell, and almost every aspect of the world plays a role in telling that story. And this is reflected beautifully with the city of Saint Denis. Reaching Saint Denis is a pivotal part of the story for Arthur. Throughout the whole game, the Pinkertons are closing in on the Vanderlyn gang, pushing them into a corner, and Saint Denis is that corner. It represents the way of life they have been rejecting this whole time. Where Novigrad feels similar to the rest of the world of The Witcher 3, just massively compressed, Saint Denis feels like a whole new world altogether. The roads are all paved in stone, trolleys attached to power lines weave through the streets, and smoke from the factories clog the sky.
This is good ambiance, I'm not gonna lie.
Civilization is creeping into the frontier that Arthur and company has rode and ruled over, and time is starting to run out. It is designed to make you feel equal parts awe and dread as this new way of life starts to take over, and it also aligns thematically with the struggles Arthur is going through during this section of the game. Like, what or who can he trust in this ever-changing world? Who is he if everything he once lived by gets left behind? What does it mean to live a good life? Technically, players—
She kind of look like Michael Jackson a little bit.
Can reach Saint Denis whenever they want, but coming by it through the natural progression of the narrative creates a very powerful moment of story aligning to a setting. Of course, while I do love when games use the juxtaposition of going from an open expanse to a dense metropolis to hammer home a theme, as it also serves to make the world as a whole feel more cohesive and like it exists beyond the game, there is also something to be said about titles that use their setting to make players feel eternally isolated. Take Cyberpunk 2077. It largely takes place all within Night City, and it sort of does the opposite of Grand Theft Auto 5 in terms of not getting in the player's way. Where Los Santos is simple and quick to navigate, Night City is an utter mess of roads and buildings that barely make sense. There's a really great video by Morphologist where he examines the design of Night City, and one of the major things he talks about—
oh my gosh, I would love this video. I'm gonna have to watch this video. Let me take a picture. That sounds beautiful, bro. If you guys don't know, my second passion is homes, everything to do with such. So like by parallel lines, like by just, I don't know, a synonym. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like a byproduct of that is that I have an interest in architecture. That actually sounds like a cool breakdown. I might just watch that video on my free time. I don't know if that's a react.
There is how it really feels like a product of the setting it takes place within. Cyberpunk as a genre is one where corporations and capitalism are king, and red tape and regulations are for losers. When some industry needs a building or a road or anything—
yes, we talked about it in another video. I love those home improvement shows. You feel me?
Really that will help their bottom line. It gets—
another game with a unique NPC mechanic is Infamous. Yo, you know what? Yeah, because I played Infamous, but as the demo, love, hate, and support, or even work against you. That's crazy.
It's built regardless of its long-term efficacy. Night City is an amalgamation of countless ventures that are barely compatible, making the city itself a nightmare to move through efficiently. And as I brought up with Novigrad, while this creates the desired effect of having players feel lost within and locked into the city, it does risk alienating them whenever they have to move through it. But what's different here is that navigation feeling so sloppy plays into a major theme of the setting, that of overwhelming urban expanse that hardly cares about the people living there. In the scheme of the greater system, you barely are even recognized as a pawn, and the city is almost suffocating because of it. Unlike Novigrad, Night City is not meant to ever be understood, and while you may be able to orient around some major structures and figure out the layout of a few more regularly traveled areas, it is hard to ever break free of the navigational tools the game offers, like the minimap. And for those who watch me a lot, you might assume I think this is a bad thing, but I actually think it works better here than in most titles, as another major
I'm covering up the minimap when they were driving, but yeah.
Aspect of the genre, and this game in particular, is a reliance on tech. It's the main way your character gets upgraded and is a part of who they are, so needing to rely on a minimap to get pretty much anywhere fits in perfectly with this concept. Despite exploration being an element of Cyberpunk 2077's design, it's not what the game really centers around, at least not when compared to something like The Witcher 3. The point of Novigrad scope is to make searching for Ciri feel like looking for a needle in a haystack, but the point of Night City scope is to make living within it feel inescapable and heavy, which I imagine is why CD Projekt Red leaned more into creating an incredibly dense and obtruse place instead of one with obvious signposting.
The world beyond Night City so much to make a game, because I'm just thinking, complete novice by the way, but it takes so much to make a game. I just wouldn't think about that if I was like right now as I am right now, but as he's saying it, it's like, yeah, that makes so much sense. Why wouldn't they do that? But man, it takes so much. That's so beautiful.
Almost feels impossible, and that's what makes the idea of it so enticing. I think the reason cities in video games pique my interest in a different way than other settings do is because of how layered they need to be to feel realistic. Yeah. There are so many moving pieces all concentrated in a relatively small space, and that is a harder thing to fake than a village or a cave or a forest. Realism in games is a pretty common talking point, and as graphical capabilities become more robust and mechanical systems more complex, we will keep getting closer and closer to being able to make games that truly simulate more of reality. While I'm sure that there could be an incredible title where you're an inhabitant of a simulated city, one where actions of NPCs change the state of the world, where the locations of things matter in order to keep the city running, where any action you make can interrupt the process of the place you're in, I don't think this kind of dedication to realism will make games better. It sounds good, and in the right context could be good, but for the most part, I don't think it actually would serve most titles. Games are tailored experiences aimed to get players to feel specific ways, and this means creating a reality that is made to make them feel a specific way. And I think that's what players want. They want a city that feels alive and is intuitive to move through. They want one that enhances the core gameplay. They want one that allows them to experiment in ways they never could in real life. They want one that enhances the story being told. Video game cities are weird because if they weren't, they wouldn't support the vision of their respective games. Ultimately, as much as we may say we might, I don't think we really want realism. At least not to its fullest extent. It's limiting, and in the context of video games, often pointless. What I think we actually want, whether it be in relation to cities or any other part of a game, is the illusion of realism. But as recognizing that something is an illusion often breaks the illusion, I guess let's just keep saying we want realism, and maybe we'll believe it. And while we're doing some pretending, let's pretend like this transition is good. I have a pair of headphones that I really love. My ears have...
Okay. If you guys enjoyed this video, that was really interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad that I sat here and watched the video. I'm not gonna lie, towards the end I got silent because I was like starting to think of like a game concept. I feel like something cool. I don't know. Like there's so much expansive ideas that you could do with games, and I'm trying to figure out a way to make a city feel more alive within a game. And in my head it would be like a game. You could call it like roles, and you just have like, I don't know, like 5 different classes in the city, and there's only like 1 match per day, and then y'all are in like a city, and it's your city versus like another city, and like through that time period of the day up until the time where they fight, you have to like prepare resources, prepare your cities, da-da-da-da-da. But it's like as you're working, the city in the game would feel alive, and then at the end you have like a competition component to like make sure like your city's in pristine condition so that you could beat this next person's city, and it's like without each other you guys fall apart. And I feel like that would create like a real cool like dynamic. And then I just don't know how you would actually expand that into like a game with like that doesn't get boring in like a day. Anyways, I'm yapping. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you click this video right here. It's just as entertaining as the video that we just watched together. Don't take my word on it. Take Big Bro YouTube's word on it. They're the ones who put it up there for you. And I'm going to see you in the next one. With that being said, goodbye.